My name is Wallace Bradley, and I'm the host of the Bradley Report. I'm also president of United Peace, Inc. There's a lot of issues that's going to be on this show tonight, and very urgent. As you know, last week, we were talking about the White House being mad at at Mayor Brandon Johnson. And the conversation that was had with Dr. Brazier at his church, where the mayor came in to explain what it is that he is doing. And the issues of this show, first of all, this show is being presented by United Peace, Inc. And the chairman of United Peace, Inc., who is also the producer of the show, she believes that everyone is entitled to their opinion. And she thanked God for blessing America for individuals that have freedom of speech. And that's none other than Dr. Terry Marsh Bradley. And I want to say, to God be the glory. A lot of things happened since last week. Over 100 pastors came out and had a press conference. Pastors, community leaders came out to let the DOJ know that they can back up off of Mayor Brandon Bradley, because they felt like the DOJ should be investigating the hiring practices of the president. Again, the chairman name is Dr. Terry Marsh Bradley, and I'm Dr. Wallace Bradley. Y'all know me as Dr. Gator. So without further ado, let's go to work.
This is black supremacy, plain and simple. Like the racists of America's past, Mayor Johnson believes in attributing supremacy and inferiority to an individual based on skin color. Hello, America. I'm Pastor Corey Brooks. From the south side of Chicago to the nation's capital, this is Rooftop Revelations. Many of you know me as the Rooftop Pastor. I recently spent 343 days living on top of a roof through Chicago's cold and heat to bring awareness to the violence and to raise money for this much-needed community center that you see being built behind me. And because of the many donations from Americans just like yourself, we are raising the needed funds for this glorious leadership and economic community center. We aim nothing less than the full transformation of Chicago's most violent block, O Block, into Opportunity Block. Here we discuss issues, local to national, from the streets to the Capitol. For you who have been on the journey with us, welcome back. And if this is your first time watching Rooftop Revelations, we're glad you're joining us for this latest edition of Rooftop Revelation. Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson recently stoked the racial fires once again. I guess this is the only way he can break the news these days because he doesn't have significant accomplishments to speak of. This time, the mayor was visiting the Apostolic Church of God in my Southside neighborhood of Woodlawn when he said, quote, "The reason I hire so many blacks to run Chicago is because we're planet Earth's most generous race," end quote. This is black supremacy, plain and simple. Like the racists of America's past, Mayor Johnson believes in attributing supremacy and inferiority to an individual based on skin color. And he has made no secret of his belief that one's black skin makes one superior and one's white skin makes one inferior. In 2022, he told the Chicago Tribune, people are going to criticize the fact that we have the most black and brown folks in the history of Chicago. Yes, we are the blackest administration, and I'm proud of it. And what does he say about white people? In July of 2024, he told a concert crowd that he blamed whites of running the city down to the ground. Y'all look, white supremacy is real. I'm going to say that one more time, he said. He clearly forgot that the preceding mayor was black. The man has no problem admitting his racism out loud and clear. This is why I applauded the recent decision by the DOJ Civil Rights Division to launch an investigation into whether or not Johnson's administration engaged in discriminatory hiring practices. Specifically, they will examine whether the city's employment practices systemically favored black candidates over others, violating federal anti-discrimination laws. I don't want a mayor who plays racial tribalism for power and to hide the fact that our city is suffering profoundly. That is why his comment about blacks being the most generous race on earth was offensive. If one looks at my neighborhood through racial lens, we are 90% all black, and we have an epidemic of black on black crime. In 2023, 70% of our homicides were black on black. Blacks are both the killers and the victims. How is this generous? To make matters worse, 70% of those homicides go unsolved in predominantly black neighborhoods like mine. How is this generous? I could go on about other crimes, but I think the point is made. The fact that Mayor Johnson chooses to overlook the horrors playing out on our streets every day so that he may engage in his racial fantasies reveals that we truly have no one leading our city. After all, black cannot lead the city of Chicago. What does black do? How does black run a city? How does black fix violence? How does black fix the education epidemic? How does black fix the lack of stable family households? How does black replace the father the kid never had? And how in the world is black generous? The racial stupidity that comes out of the mayor's mouth is unfathomable. The stupidity costs lives and ruins futures. Our problem is not race. Being black has never done any good for us. If it was so great, then why are we called the permanent underclass? Permanent as in there's no hope for us. That's where being black has gotten us the last 60 years. Where is the generosity in that? I've said time and time again that the problems we face are human problems. We are not black, but human beings born in the greatest country known to mankind. And it's time that we start thinking of ourselves in that regard. I tell the children in my neighborhood, look how lucky you are. God has blessed you with 2 feet, 2 hands, 2 eyes, 2 ears, and the most powerful tool known to man, your brain. That is why every single ounce of our efforts must be focused on developing the full humanity of the people in my neighborhood. That is all that matters. And we must do this despite having a mayor that hides like a coward behind race to mask his inferiority. When it comes to solving the problems of our city, we will never allow such a lowly man to bring us down. And that is why I pray for my city and her people every single day. God bless you and God bless America. This has been another Rooftop Revelation.
You know, like I said from the outset, thank God for America allowing us to have freedom of speech. I know the pastor, I know him well. I know Block O. I know it well. Me and the pastor has walked down that street to help individuals that were responsible for killing, I believe was a young lady, a little girl, and convince the community to spit him out so he can be apprehended. But I also want to say this. That's a beautiful center that he's going to build. But I remember him as being a conservative, not no MAGA. He's about MAGA. You understand what I'm saying. You seeing it yourself. The man don't believe in education. So do that mean he can't put up no black pictures of Harold Washington? Of Barack Obama? He can't mention about the struggles that African Americans have went through because of racism. I also remember when Martin Luther King came through Chicago and a lot of black ministers wouldn't allow him in their church. Minister on the west side, Hatch, allowed him in. Minister on the south side, at Fellowship Church, the great Reverend Clay Evans allowed him in. And they suffered because of that, because of Mayor Daley. And I remember that it was a pastor that was so hateful or being used or whatever it is against Martin Luther King and what he believed in. To the point that when they changed the street from South Parkway to Martin Luther King Drive, he changed the address from coming down King Drive, that used to be South Parkway, and made it where you had to come in through the side door. He changed his address because he didn't want his church to be known as being on Martin Luther King Drive. This ain't new, but this is very serious what we're talking about. For that man to support a man that don't believe in our history, that's talking about getting rid of the Department of Education, that's talking about getting rid of Medicare. Medicare. He know what I'm talking about. I'm not dissing him. I just say, thank God that America is a place for freedom of speech and one's entitled to their opinion. So without further ado, sister, let's go to the next piece.
President Trump and his Department of Justice threatening and in some cases carrying out legal retribution against his critics. From political rivals to law firms to universities and other institutions, it seems like no one is off limits. And now the Justice Department has opened a civil rights investigation into the city of Chicago after comments from Mayor Brandon Johnson. Speaking at a church last week, Johnson put a spotlight on the black officials in his administration.
There are some detractors that will push back on me and say, you know, the only thing that the mayor talks about is the hiring of black people. No, what I'm saying is when you hire our people, we always look out for everybody else. We are the most generous people on the planet. I don't know too many cultures that have play cousins. Having people in my administration that will look out for the interest of everyone, and everyone means you have to look out for the interests of black folks, because that hasn't happened.
Yes, in Trump's world, celebrating diversity makes you a target of a DOJ civil rights investigation. Joining us now is Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago. Mayor Johnson, thank you very much for coming to the weekend. You know what the first question is going to be. It's that obvious. What is your reaction to the fact that you are under a civil rights investigation?
Well, good morning. Thank you, Jonathan, and congratulations. I thought the first question was going to be, when are you coming to Chicago with your book tour? But I'll accept it as a second question.
Mr. Mayor, it's Wednesday.
Okay, we'll see you there.
The Humanities Festival. Go on.
Perfect. Well, look, I'm incredibly proud that I have put together the most talented, competent, collaborative, compassionate, diverse administration in the history of Chicago. You know, it's unfortunate that, you know, the President of the United States of America has demonstrated a great deal of animus and disdain towards competent, compassionate, and diverse leadership. But it makes sense, though, because obviously his administration doesn't reflect the country. It reflects the country club. And when we put together my administration, I was very clear. I wanted to make sure that we had people who are capable, people who are passionate about transforming government. And that's what we've been able to do. Violence is down in the city of Chicago. Our investments are up, and we're working to build the safest, most affordable big city in America. And we're doing that together.
Mr. Mayor, we've seen the administration go after perceived rivals in other ways. I'm curious, what do you think they are trying to signal to the American people by going after folks with power and access like yourself?
This is a clear demonstration of not just animus, but intimidation. We've been here before in our country's history. We've been here before in our world's history. As a former public school teacher who taught social studies, I can tell you when people are standing up for the interests of working people and challenging the power structure, particularly the ultra rich, people become increasingly intimidated by that. And so what they do is they fight back, and they do it in a very dramatic way. And one of those ways is to stifle and silence the voice of resistance. They also go after history. They go after the arts. They go after the culture. And this is something that I'm fully aware of. And the fact of the matter is this: I was elected to bring people together to solve the critical issues that working people are experiencing all over the country, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's the lack of housing. I've built 4,000 affordable homes, 1,800 are under construction now. We're going to build another 4,600 affordable homes in the next 18 months. We are hiring our young people, 29,000 jobs for young people this summer. We're expanding mental and behavioral health care services. These are the things that the American people want leadership to react to versus what Donald Trump is reacting to. And he's reacting to the interests of the ultra rich in this country. But the city of Chicago, we're going to remain firm, and we will not be intimidated by this tyrant.
Mr. Mayor, today is the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's killing. And as we remember that memorial, at the same time, alongside that, it coincides with the Trump administration, the Justice Department, pulling civil rights investigations in police departments. What does this say about this moment? And can you talk about what you're doing with policing in Chicago to try to prevent killings like that, which happened to George Floyd?
Well, this is why we have to have political and organizing working together. We have to resist the frame, quite frankly, of the tenor that is coming from this White House. And as we reflect on the brutality that has been carried out by the state, in order for us to build safer cities, we have to make sure that there's trust between law enforcement and the residents. We're doing that in the city of Chicago, building constitutional policing, solving crime, making sure our detectives have the tools that they need. But it's not just policing. It's policing and affordable housing. It's policing and mental health support services. It's policing and making sure that we have a workforce that can actually afford to live in a city. You know, that's why we abolished the sub-minimum wage here in Chicago. We've expanded paid time off where workers have 10 days off to spend time with their families. That's why this moment is so critical that we all come together, because these issues are connected. Unfortunately, there has been this addiction on jails and incarceration where we're doing it differently. The safest cities in America all have one thing in common. They invest in people. And that's what I'm doing in Chicago. We're going to build the safest, most affordable big city in America. And it's going to take all of us to do that.
Mr. Mayor, picking up on this, how concerned are you that the president will follow through on his multiple threats to use the military on the streets of Chicago to, in his view, get crime under control, to yank federal funding from Chicago? Your reaction to those threats?
Well, look, I take them seriously. You know, his actions have certainly been inimical to the interest of working people, but we're not going to cower to his hostility. I mean, here's, what I'm really pleased with. Again, with a talented, well-qualified, diverse administration, homicides are down 21%, shootings are down, robberies are down, and investments are up. We are transforming this city with a collective response in a holistic way, the full force of government. And this is why I continue to challenge folks around this country, and we're doing this in Chicago. The best way in which we can have secure communities is by investing in them. You know, when there's good paying jobs, when we're investing in our education system. As a public school teacher, we just settled a teacher's contract where we lowered class sizes. We are providing more behavioral and mental health support services with social workers and counselors. We're giving control to the community so that the community can help direct the interest of their local schools. We're protecting Black history, LGBTQ+. We're also protecting immigrants. There's more than enough for everyone in this country. And that's why the city of Chicago and my administration is so focused on whether we are providing a pathway for reparations while also protecting immigrants. That's the story of Chicago. A Black Haitian immigrant and a Potawatomi woman established a trade post at the bank of the river because they knew that one day the city of Chicago will be the global capital of the world. And that's what we're ultimately administering. And there's a great deal of intimidation that this administration is trying to cast upon us, but we will not break, we will not cower. We're gonna stand firm on the values in which we were elected to do.
Mayor Brandon Johnson, thank you so much for being with us.
You know, the one thing that we're witnessing is, regardless of the fact that we all have an opinion, the most important thing is we know the difference between a lie and the truth. Even though we know lies and rumors get more followers than the truth. We also know, because of the chameleon, if that's the word, how a lie constantly changes, but the truth remains the same. Friday, pastors came together, community leaders came together, so many pastors, I can't name them all, I'll name a few. Pastor Harrell, Pastor Turner, Bishop Porter, Superintendent Edie, Chief Apostle William McCoy, Pastor Thurston, and Pastor Tory Barrett. And his father was there, T.L. Barrett, and Minister Leonard Muhammad from the Nation of Islam. But without further ado, I want you to hear this as we end our show. Let's go to work.
ETT. I serve as the senior pastor of the Life Center Church for the Universal Awareness under our founder, Pastor T.L. Barrett Jr. And we stand today as a collective group of faith leaders to say enough is enough. Yes, sir. Yeah. The harassment has to stop. Yes, sir. Yes, and let me be clear, this is just the beginning. Yes, sir. Everybody that is for us is not staying with us today. I said everybody that is for us is not standing with us. What does that mean? That means that today is a start of a movement. Yes, sir. You will see press conferences, you will see marches, you will see different events that take place that some of us that are for us couldn't happen to be here standing with us today, but be clear, there are others that are standing for us. Mr. President, you are accusing our mayor of improperly hiring members of his administration. When the last time I checked, according to the Washington Post, who examined every person who held position in the cabinets during each presidential term going back to Bill Clinton, you, sir, had the least diverse administration with over 87 instead of your appointees filled with people that look nothing like us in this pulpit today.
Call a thing, Pastor.
And finally, last time I checked, when you compare yourself, Mr. President, to the Honorable Mayor Brandon Johnson, out of the two of you, only one of you have ever been convicted and found guilty of 34 felony counts. Now we know, Mr. President, that misery loves company. But we came today to tell you, not today. Somebody say not today. Your misery is going to have to find somebody else's company. Because Mayor Brandon Johnson has integrity and he will not be joining you as a convicted felon. So if the truth be told, there needs to be a DOJ investigation. But not of the Honorable Mayor Brandon Johnson, but of you, sir, need to call the DOJ investigation on yourself. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce the pastor of the People's Church of the Harvest and the one who convened us today, Chairman Michael Eaton. Let's praise God for him.
You know, it's wonderful. As I was standing there, listening to all the pastors and everyone standing up because they realized this. As elected officials, on this note, one thing that Pastor Corey Brooks said, and I agree with him, the preceding mayor was African American. But once the powers that be that have put her there realized that she was including African Americans to receive the benefits, including them, they immediately made a move to get rid of her. That part he didn't want you to know. But to get the full thing about what happened Friday, if you got a Facebook page, go on there and find Black Men United. Hit their post and you'll see the full stream of that assembly of African American pastors, community, and business leaders. To God be the glory. That's Gator's story. Stay prayerful, stay prayerful, stay prayerful. Walk by faith in God. Peace.